After God manifesting his powers to the children of Israel and the Egyptians, did the children of Israel really come to understand and appreciate the power of God and even have more trust in him? That is what we'll be looking at today in the book of Exodus chapter 15. Welcome to the Bible journey, the Exodus season. My name is Nixon Ratema, and with me on set are our three dear pastors. First of all is Pastor Peter Nyaga. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you so much.
And next to him is Pastor Dan Abuya.
Thank you.
And on my right-hand side is Pastor John Wakabira. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you very much. Let's begin with the word of prayer from Pastor Nyaga.
Our gracious Father in heaven, we thank you so much once again for this day. And as we get to the discussion of the scriptures, we invite your presence to be with us. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you. And of course, our dear viewer, remember that you can always give us your comment through our social media platforms that are indicated at the bottom of your screens. You can also call us through, send us short text messages through that number at the bottom of your screen. Now, let's get to the book of Exodus chapter 15. And generally here, we are about singing. And of course, you all appreciate, especially in Africa and other countries, we really like celebrating through the art of music. We like singing a lot, and we show our appreciation and even our praise through the art of music. Now, what was happening in the book of Exodus chapter 15 was nothing different, because we are talking about the song of Moses and the song of Miriam. Now, pastors, when you look, I think there are three key elements here that we have to look at, especially in these songs from verse 1 to 21, the purpose of these songs and how God had done what they are saying. Right. And there is the last element of is it the impact that it had to the children of Israel. Sure. And of course, we are talking about what God has been doing all along from the land of Egypt up to this point where he had destroyed the army, the 600 chariots and the mighty men of war of Egypt. Now, from verse 1, I just want to, in a way of introduction, why was this song important? Why was the song of Moses important, Pastor Dan?
Well, you know, just as you have said, Nick, a song is very important in most cultures, in all cultures, really. Mm-hmm. This is one thing that binds humanity because of its ability to afford an expression platform in emotions in a way that even words, dry words cannot express. That is why, actually, even when you want to learn something new, you know, you learn a foreign language, you know, it is easier to learn a song. A lot of guys would sing a song because they keep humming. They don't know the meaning of it here, but so
even right from nursery school, you would be taught through music, learning the alphabet.
That's right, a powerful way of really learning and all that, but then expressing what is deep inside of you. Yeah. So this song is very important because it brings a clear, vivid picture of the Israelites at this point, just after being delivered. It doesn't seem like this is something that, you know, a song that was written, you know, a team was called to compose, then write,
it was
and then
something like
people.
Spontaneous.
It seems spontaneous. I mean, it's flowing out. It effuses out of their depths because of what the Lord has done. So, of course, as Moses does this, it seems like the entire army of Israel catches on it quickly because really they are all in tune. They are all connected at this point with what God has done. Yeah, so
and maybe as we continue, Pastor Nyaga, you can really see how joyous these people are, and they forget all that, and they have really seen the mighty hand of God. You remember what Moses said, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Right. You shall keep still and the Lord shall really fight for you. And now they have seen it because they were in this, you know, kind of confused situation. We said on the right hand side and on the left there are mountains. In front of them was the sea, and behind them were the Egyptian armies. ready to destroy them. So they were somewhere that they could not save themselves, but the Lord came in through in a mighty way to save them. So you can really appreciate the joy in these people at this moment.
Yeah, I really appreciate. I'm learning out of this, what Pastor Dan is referring to is, spontaneous aspect of worship. And I think this is what actually prizes the heart of God. Many times we go before the Lord to worship so mechanically. We follow programs, but our hearts are not actually worshiping the Lord. No, this is a true sample of what happens with the heart that God has touched. When you worship God in clear understanding of who God is and what He can do, you'll have a different song. And I see that is what is happening here. You don't need to be taught a song to praise the Lord. It just needs to come out of your heart.
That's right.
For God.
That's right.
And that is what has happened. You see, when God called Moses, He told him, when I came to your forefathers, I did not introduce myself to them with my name. But I wanted to go to Egypt with my name, that the children of Israel may know that I am Yahweh. And so all along, since we started in this journey in Egypt, trying all the plagues and all these things, God was slowly teaching the children of Israel to know that He is God, He is Yahweh. And now it has come to a climax. And I want also our viewers to appreciate.
Do you think they have learned?
Wait, I'm coming to that. I want us to appreciate also, even our viewers, that there is in our last chapter 14, where we saw them when now they were brought into a dead end. As you have said, what has their mountains and enemies? It was a dead end. Now, that's a situation where every hope vanishes. You surrender to your fate. So when God saves them for that particular moment, in that situation, then they know truly there's God. And so this to me is a song of a genuine heart of the Lord. And I also want to appreciate something about the song before I come to... I see the beauty for those who love literature. I see that way the song was sung, which speaks a lot about Hebrew poetry. There's what parallelism, which is very, very clear. Like if we can read a few lines, I will sing to the Lord, for He has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider He has thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and song, and He has become my salvation. Now, the second line is repeating the idea of the first line, or giving more meaning to the first line. It's a repetition of a parallelism, kind of, which emphasizes and brings beauty of the heart as they sing. So I wanted to bring out this one to see, even as they spontaneously sing, there is also beauty where the emphasis is. So when you look at how the song is structured, I will sing to the Lord. That is not the emphasis. The emphasis is the second line, for He has triumphed gloriously. Then you go to the next line, the horse and its rider. That's not the point. The point is He has thrown into the sea. Okay? The Lord is my strength and song, and He has become my salvation. So the second line lays emphasis. It speaks what they're feeling towards their God. And to me, is the best art of worship.
Wow. And of course, Pastor, picking in a few elements here, what they are talking about, you see, like, of course, Pastor has said, He has triumphed gloriously. He has thrown the horse and his rider into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my song. Like now moving to verse 3, the Lord is a man of war.
Well, allow me to appreciate music first. I always say, for me, music is so important because it's what constitutes everything. The devil was a musician and things like that. So music has got a big role to play in establishing. I always ask myself, now, everybody tells me I'm a gospel musician, those who know. I always ask them, do you think the song you've sung could be a chapter of the Bible. Just look. That is how, for me, I decide what is a gospel song or not.
Yeah.
If you bring to me one line or one syllable being repeated for an entire stanza, do you think that song will be worthy of putting in the Bible? That's how, for me, just as a random way of determining whether a song is gospel or not. Look at this song. It explains the story. Everybody feels seen as if they have rehearsed this song before. Yet it's never been rehearsed before. This particular story, what you're asking, the Lord is a Lord of war. I want you to imagine what it means to the people of Israel. Have they ever been to war yet? Because God had exactly said he does not want them to go through
the land of the Philistines.
Because of what?
The war.
Yeah.
Well, like
So now, what are the Israelites saying? They have realized we actually do not need to go to war because the Lord already fought for us. That's enough for us.
Yeah.
So in real sense, what they are saying, prophetically, what they are saying is the Lord fought for the war for them. They did not avoid the war. Actually, God fought for them. It is the same concept that is picked by so many writers, so many musicians who compose songs based on the triumphant act of crossing the Red Sea. One of my favorite songs is Psalms 124. It says, it always begins, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side, let Israel now say. How did they say? They sang a song. It was so automatic that this is the only way to remind people. And so to them, how do you want to win war? It's basically by being able to sing. How did they bring down the walls of Jericho?
They sang.
They just sang.
Right, yeah.
That was their formula for being able to say, God has been on our side. What can we do? When Jehoshaphat was told you're being attacked, he put the armies together and told them, go ahead, put the choir, not the armies, not the chief commanders like the Pharaoh did, put armies or chariots. No. What you're going to do, we're going to put the choir literally in front. All you need to do is sing, the Lord is good, for his mercies endures forever. And that's how they won. It's the formula God has been using continuously. People, if you really want to prove, not really prove per se, but the best way to be able to show your appreciation to God is easily by a song that comes from your own heart.
I wanted to, I don't know whether Pastor Dan wanted to come in,
Yeah.
but I wanted to do a little more analysis of the song. As you know, we are saying, no, this is the language of the heart, a heart which is now happy with the Lord. And you see the verse which now John was using, verse number 3, and I want just to use that as an example in verse number 7. So verse 3, the Lord is a man of war, and the Lord is his name. Two things here. It has been war. For them to be released from Egypt, it was battle between God and Pharaoh. Now, they now discover that God is mighty in war. Of course, you know Psalms 24 verse 18 and Isaiah also 42 verse 13. Both of them speaks as God as God mighty in war. But the second line there, the Lord is his name. The Lord there is Yahweh. Yahweh is his name. Now, I remind you again, as I've said, when he sent Moses to Egypt, he said, when I appeared before your forefathers, I did introduce myself with my name, Yahweh. Now, he says, I'm sending you to Egypt with my name, Yahweh. Now, they have actually known that he is Yahweh. But verse 7 also gives something very important to me. And in the greatness of your excellence, that's the word. The greatness of your excellence. You know, all along they were doubting the ways of the Lord. All along they were casting doubt on what God was doing. They thought God was mediocre. But now they have come to discover that God is very excellent in all that he does. So when we allow, and it comes as a result of Moses, remember what we see in chapter 15, stand still.
Chapter 14.
In chapter 14, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. And when he says stand still, is in a situation where actually, humanly speaking, does not allow you to be still. So it is that moment, and we say it was a test of faith. It's when if faith is tired, and we see actually that faith was tired, and now they know that God is excellent in what He does. So to me, I'm bringing out this. So if we had time enough, and you go line by line
to
these words in this song, it's speaking strongly about the character of God and His personality.
Yeah, because
in the plan of
every
redemption.
element here, like when they talk about strength,
Yes.
when they talk about a mighty man of war, the name the Lord,
Yes.
when they talk about how He has covered them as their God, it's so crucial. It's an expression of how they have come to understand who God is, because all along these people seem to have not really understood who God is. It's until this point that it really comes out so well that they have really understood who God is in all aspects of their lives, in terms of protection, like we talked about the pillar, the cloud going behind them to cover and protect them and confuse the armies of the Egyptians. So now, talking about the way, Pastor, you talked about from verse 7 all the way to 11, it's about how he was able to do this.
How he did it.
Yeah, let's now move to verse, maybe I'll combine. He has already talked about verse 7 a little bit. We can read also verse 8 and 9 so that you combine with that. 8 and 9 says, "And with the blast of your nostrils, the waters were gathered together, the flood stood upright like a heap, the depth congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I'll pursue, I'll overtake, I'll divide the spoil. My desire shall be satisfied on them. I'll draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them, they sank like lead in the mighty waters."
Right here.
Now this is actually, they are talking about the experience
That's right,
in the Red Sea.
How the deliverance came about. It was very dramatic to the point that, I mean, it's something you will never forget. And you see all this, these are not, what are these? They are not synonyms. How do you call this? Kind of equivalence, like, they sank like lead. I mean, it's so vivid. It creates word pictures.
Symbols and metaphors?
Similes, yeah, metaphors, yeah. So these are metaphors, yeah, like lead, they just drop and sink to the ocean. It is so vivid, the description, that even if there was somebody, maybe, I don't think anybody slept through that night, but just in case you miss something, this song remained there entrenched forever in your mind. And it is sufficient enough to recreate or to help you relive that experience. This is actually the first proper song recorded in Scripture.
Oh yes.
And all the other songs throughout Scripture that come, they all are, I mean, you have to have this as a footnote. The Song of Moses, all the songs go through the entire Psalms, or the other songs like Daniel, they sing, Paul and Silas later. And of course, ultimately, I know we'll finish with the actual Song of Moses in Revelation. All of them, the reference point is this song. The theme, it is a complete song. In its, in its substance, the theme, and all that here. So very powerful. But another thing I want to add quickly, the expression here, regardless, I'm commenting, I opened up not just these verses only.
Yeah.
You see, they were meant to tell their children in all generations of God's great deliverance from Egypt. Now this is another one. How did the parents achieve this? It was through song. It was through song. So throughout the life of the Israelites, as Deuteronomy chapter 6 puts this very well, 4-9, how you teach them while seated, while standing, going out, going in. How do you do that? It is song. So the power of song, we cannot overemphasize it. And the dramatic deliverance of God to the children of Israel is meant to remain forever in their minds, and not just these generations, but all generations to come.
Their children to come.
The children and the children's children. And how they achieve this really is the parents have got a duty. It devolves upon them to tell them about this deliverance as they sit, as they stand, as they go in, as they come out, as Deuteronomy chapter 6, 4 to 9 says.
Yeah, and of course, also in Africa, it's the same way. Even when you are at school, we are told that to pass information and pass on what
Song
we
was
believe in as
critical.
Africans, songs were very critical.
Song was critical in any culture.
Yeah, Pastor Kabira.
Now, for me, I want to talk about the great controversy theme that comes out here.
Right.
The children of Israel, all along they were selfish, in reference to why did you bring us here, why you want us to die here. They did not see the bigger picture. Until they have been saved is when now they are able to see the bigger picture. They are just basically but a subset of the great controversy that has been happening. And so this entire song actually talks about God defeating Pharaoh and his gods. It's not in reference. They recognize that they're just there as part of God's plan. Rarely will you be able to say, after he's done with the, if you see, I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. It begins from there all the way. Look at verse 11. Who is like you, O Lord, among the gods?
Right.
Who is like you, glorious in holiness, fearful in praise and doing wonders? It's like a contest. The Israelites are showing a contest between the triumphant win of God versus how Pharaoh has been able to lose. At no particular time do you see themselves getting in there and saying, we won, we triumphed, we did something. The Israelites recognized that now this is something bigger than what they were thinking about. When they came to that realization, that is when they were actually saved. That they are not the ones who were fighting with Pharaoh.
No.
Right.
It was God.
It was God who was fighting
for them.
It was God who won. They were just basically instruments of God being able to show that you can win. That if you believe in God, God can use you to win. But for me, what was important was the song was able to praise God. At no particular point does the song talk about them. The song is totally about God and his win. That's why they end by saying, the Lord shall reign forever and ever. That is verse 18. The conclusion of that particular song is, the Lord shall reign forever and ever.
Wow.
It's not about we are free or we have run away from all this. No. The point is God and God all the time.
Wow. Thank you. Let's, Pastor, maybe in a minute.
Well, maybe I would be able to summarize.
Then let's take a short break first, then we come back with you so that we can learn more on there. And of course, our dear viewer, we take a short break, but remember, it's about this song that is so significant. And when we sing this song, actually, we come to understand that the children of Israel had now understood who God is and how he had fought for them all this while and how mighty he was amongst them. And I believe that at this point, when you look at what they are saying here, is that they have come to understand that it's not by their own works or their own doings. They didn't participate in any way because they are only praising God because of what he has done. We are coming back shortly. Welcome back, our dear viewer. It's the Bible journey, and remember today we are in the book of Exodus and the chapter is 15, and of course we just want to continue with this song of Moses, then we look at the song of Miriam. And Pastor, you wanted to come in on the same, just looking at bringing out all these elements.
Yeah, I just wanted to also highlight here that actually this song brings out what you can call the theology of the Israel as a tribe. And, we understand that they have been in bondage for close to 430 years.
430 years, yeah.
Without God. The only religion they know is that of Egypt. And within a very short time, after God has taken them from Egypt to this particular moment, we see them now appreciating a new religion. And they start speaking of this religion. And so, as I said earlier, of course, mentioning about who God is, I mentioned a few verses again, verse 11. Who is like you, O Lord, among the gods? They are talking about the uniqueness of God among the gods, because they were used to so many gods in Egypt. But they're saying, we have been worshipping so many gods. We have seen many gods doing things, but this is a unique God. Now we see God achieving, because you remember Pharaoh, it says in chapter 5 verse number 2, where it said, and who is this God that I may...
Right.
Yeah, okay?
Should let you go.
So
right.
God is demystifying the argument that there's no other God apart from the gods they knew in Egypt. And we slowly see God who is actually achieving his objective. Reason that they may come and worship, they are knowing slowly, they're coming to know who God is. When you go to verse number 17, it says, you will bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance. It speaks about the reason for deliverance. Where is God taking them? There's a promised land. They now start knowing also that actually God has a promised land for us. He's taking us somewhere, and the way he's taking us is better. So then when you look at the verse 14, I've just jumped those 3 verses there. When you look at 14, 15, 16, the way they are singing the ones there, they also brings out the concept of the nature of the battle. The nature of the war is a holy war. They have not discovered it's not about physical. It's not about the abilities. It's God doing it for them.
Right.
It's a spiritual battle. And I think, to me, when I read this song, it reminds me constantly the battles, the struggles of my life.
That's right.
It is God. It's God.
Wow.
And if you go to 18 again, I think there's so many things that I want to appreciate in this, whatever. But if you look verse 18, the Lord shall reign forever and ever. And the one there again is Lord Yahweh. Yahweh shall reign forever and ever. His kingdom will not be removed. That of Pharaoh has been destroyed until it will be removed. But this particular God that has invited us to come and worship him in the wilderness, his kingdom shall reign forever and ever. So it is a beginning of shaping up a theology of the Israelites as a tribe, and which actually has given us the privilege of sitting here, because now we appreciate who this God is. And it was so spontaneous. Some of us, we have gone through trainings in seminaries. Others have stayed in church for many years to just come learn these things. But this was a spontaneous thing that God allowed it to happen in their hearts to speak of who he is, as they shaped up a religion that can call us.
And Pastor Buya, actually, when you look from verse 14 to 16, there is a way in which they are foretelling what will happen in the future.
That's right.
And it's kind of, they have come to understand where they are going to pass through as they go to the promised land, which now comes out in verse 17. And they mention, because why else would you say, why they mention people like the Edom in verse 15?
Right, yeah.
Okay, let me read from verse 14. The people will hear and be afraid. Sorrow will take hold of the inhabitants of Philistia. So they'll come to pass through Philistia. When Philistines will hear about this, they will tremble, they'll be sorrowful. In verse 15, the chiefs of Edom will be dismayed. The mighty men of Moab, that is the Moabites, the Edomites, of Moab, trembling will take hold of them. All the inhabitants of Canaan will melt away, which is the final place that will try to fight against.
And that's what I was calling holy war. They now discover it won't be them fighting.
It is.
These nations will be melting and paving way because there is a mighty God now who is involved in fighting.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I was calling holy war.
That's right, yeah.
Pastor Abuya.
Well, the whole experience, once again, it is so dramatic that you can't help but break spontaneously into this song of praise. And the Israelites, of course, unfortunately, they are a very forgetting people. Quickly you're going to find them again back in that cycle of depression and all that. But at least for the moment, that fix that they were in, the catch, they say, I don't know, catch what?
Catch 22.
catch-22 situation that, okay, no way out. Huh?
Yeah.
As in, God has come in such a powerful way. And that is what he does every day. So now, you remember in John chapter 9, when the man born blind, the disciples asked Jesus, who sinned? And, you know, Christ tells them that, you know, not the mother, not the man, not the parents, but so that, you know,
the glory of God,
might be manifested. Yeah. So a lot of the times God allows us to get into these situations so that perhaps through them, he can help us to see him for who he truly is.
He is.
I think God is succeeding. He has succeeded at this point.
He has. And Pastor Kabira, right from verse 20 and 21 is the Song of Miriam. And I think, to me, it appears like kind of a solo coming in to just blend in. And, you know, she is really fitting into that context and trying to bring out and answering that song. And saying something here in verse 20, then Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took the timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horses and its rider he has thrown into the sea." She picks only two elements here, Pastor Kabira.
Well, she's being a woman, ideally. That is not being hard on her. You go to a wedding, to a burial, there is always this, and then it's interrupted by a woman who does this, which transitions to the next one. So basically, for me, she gives a chorus or a bridge after every stanza. That is what some people propose. But she picks on, "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously." That's the main point of all this. Then she gives the symbolism of the horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. That is, here it's been won completely. For he has triumphed gloriously. But to put emphasis on triumphed gloriously, it's like he has triumphed gloriously forever and ever. You know, that is why the horse and its rider has been thrown into the sea, to show the completeness of the entirety of the whole mission. So God has won even the things that were pursuing us. Remember what Pharaoh prepared. He prepared specifically the best of the men and chariots. And so that is what Miriam ends by saying, those things that human beings prepared have completely been thrown away. It's over.
And actually what he had said, the Egyptians you see now, you'll
never see them
no more forever. And now, so Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, then they went out into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. Now when they came to Marah, they could not drink the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people complained against Moses, saying, "What shall we drink?" So he cried out to the Lord, and the Lord shewed him a tree. When he cast it into the waters were made sweet. There he made a statute and an ordinance for them, and there he tested them and said, "If you diligently heed the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his sight, give ear to his commandments and keep all his statutes, I will put none of the diseases on you which I have brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you." Yeah, for I am the Lord who heals you. Okay, I just wanted to bring in that, you know, that scenario at that element whereby they have now left, okay, after the singing, they are now past the Red Sea. Now they go unto Marah, and again, it seems they forget too quickly. The God who was able to save them and create a road, a path through the waters, a highway through the waters, they are forgotten, and they find some bitter water and think like, what shall we drink? And they start complaining against Moses. Pastor Nyaga, this, you know, I've always said, Israelites never learn. And I equate it with us. We as human beings, we never learn. Despite what God tries to do, we never learn. We still want to complain and forget his past doings.
Thank you. If we were in a theological class, we would see the beauty of chiasm that comes out of, again in Hebrew poetry, you know, the parallelism in Hebrew poetry. brings out some beauty. So there's what we call chiasm here. And which I see is in the form of A, B, C, D, E, and then E, D coming back again to A. But because that our audience may not actually appreciate, we see God contrasting. You see, from the time He removes them from Egypt to this particular time, they have not lacked anything. So what was so critical for them is, how are we going to cross over the Red Sea? So they have crossed the Red Sea. Now, they begin a journey from that particular time of hardship. The experience at the Red Sea was important for them to be able to bear the hardships ahead of them. So we don't want to water down the experience at the Red Sea and their song. It actually out of their knowledge of this God. But they are not prepared for hardship. The victory here at the Red Sea has blinded them. They are excited of this God to an extent that they don't expect anything bad to happen to them again. He can give them such a victory here. You don't expect any hardship. But God knows that part of the training for a sinner to know who God is, he has to go through hardship. Suffering is part of things that shapes up faith and character. And so we see when he takes them to this place of bitter water, the Mara, it's a starting point of several incidences of hardships that are going to prove their faith. It is going to culminate with a lot of complaining and murmuring until, for so many other years, about that 8 years, they cannot access Canaan as a way of proving. And then those who finally get to Canaan are those who've been tested through the wilderness experience. So we the experience at Mara is a starting point of how God tests those now who are in faith. Remember now, they are in faith. They have known who God is. He's excellent in his doing. He is mighty in war. No, they need that faith need to be proved by God. So that is what is beginning to do. And we have several experiences now.
They have only spoken about it, but it's
no, it has to be tested.
To be tested. Yes, Pastor Abuya, then Pastor Kabira.
Right. If you ask me the true definition of a song really is an experience. A lot of the times, as worshippers, we stand and we sing just, it's mechanical. It's just a mere verb or accent. You're just sounding the words. But that is not your experience. I think this is what is being ascertained here. That which you were singing, do you believe it? Is it real to you? To what extent is that true to you? Do you believe that? They have an instance here to prove that here. Once again,
they fail.
They fail. Because it's like it was an emotional, still their faith was still quite formative, it seems. And of course, truth be said, I think they are also on a learning curve. They are experiencing God. Recent things have been happening very rapidly, and so there are questions here and there. But all that said and done, I want to quickly add that really this is about us. It reflects on us now currently as worshippers. These songs we sing, do we mean it?
Yeah, let's open song number 91.
Exactly. And you go on, the voices can even be beautiful.
Yeah.
But really, do you believe that? Because truly, the song is an experience. By the way, when you go to Revelation 15, which also talks, this is Exodus 15 too, talks about the song of Moses and the song of the Lamb. What we know is that song, it is only those who have been delivered who will be able to sing it. Because
it's a song of experience.
It's a song of experience. Yeah, and because even the angels, one songwriter said that the angels will fold their wings for
they cannot sing.
They cannot
that
sing.
Song.
They have not gone through.
Pastor Kabira.
Well, this story of bitter water being made sweet is a small example of what they had just gone through. God was trying to tell them, he really wanted to see how ready they are. He takes them to the wilderness. That is what verse 22 says. He takes them to the wilderness, and for 3 days they found no water. Now question is, where have they come from? Lots of water.
Yeah.
They have just come from lots of water. Drinkable or not?
No, not drinkable.
Not drinkable. But lots of water.
Yeah.
Did God do a miracle through that water?
Yeah.
Yes. So he now takes them again, and coincidentally, they come to another water that they don't know what to do with it.
Which is little.
It may be little, yes, but this now is water. When they were accosted with more water, they didn't know what to do. How about now when they are accosted with little water? What will they do? They still did not learn the same lesson again. They complained the first time when there was more water, complaining again when there's little water. Actually, the Bible records 11 times when the Israelites complained consecutively. They complain when there's more water, they complain when there's little water. Here God has to, do the big rod, and he takes a small stick and just, like, I took you through big things, you guys. Why is this so small? Why are you worried about this? And after all, it ends by saying, the last verse ends by saying, he was preparing them where there are 12 wells. They did not see beyond one small one. And God was prepared. It's basically, let's say, they were traveling, they found. Not actually, for the first time, the Bible does not say the Lord led them there. For the first time. The Lord has been leading them, but look, say, when they came to Mara, this is out of their own volition. They came to Mara, and they found water there. Instead of them thinking like, if the Lord took us through more water, if he took us through difficult times of more water, salty water, and he conquered, why even worried about this one? If this was not meant to be for us, then we don't need to be worried.
So let's go through
we can
the
always
land of
go,
the
but
enemy.
ideally it's not even. See, then they came to Elim. There were 12 wells of water, 70 palm trees. They were even worried, but did God solve the problem? Of course he solved the problem, because anyway, you're complaining, let me just show you I can, but this is not what I wanted you to do.
Yeah.
I also wanted to bring another element to this issue of water, bitter water and shortage. They go 3 days. Blah, blah. Now, again, if we can refresh our mind and remember the plagues. Now, there was sweet water in River Nile. In Egypt, there was sweet water. But remember, before they leave Egypt, that water was made bitter by God.
Yeah.
Now, in the wilderness, they meet water that God provides, which is bitter. And as they murmur, the water is made sweet. To me, that's very, very interesting. God is telling them, what you thought was luxurious for you, was good for you in slavery, in sin, was actually bitter.
Yeah.
And what you may think is bitter in this wilderness experience, it will be made sweet. So that's what I find. And number two, then the 3 days journey without water is a genuine concern. I mean, let's also appreciate these people. So I see a God who is creating a very genuine situation. We don't lose faith in God because of things which are not genuine to us. I mean, his wife is sick. She is about to die. He takes her to every hospital. There's no cure. That's a genuine concern. God, 10 years. No cure. That's a genuine concern. So the things that they're complaining about here, the murmurings here, are actually very genuine to complain about. Even if you go 3 days, the wilderness, and I've invited you, come, you take me somewhere, and they take you for 3 days without water or without food.
Yeah.
It's not complaining. It's a genuine concern.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So God is telling us there will be very genuine situations in a Christian life that actually may make you even be so mad with me. But I also want you to know that I provide.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. And of course, he read verse 27 that they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees, so they camped there by the waters. Was this a coincidence, Pastor? Verse 27, 12 wells, 70 palm trees?
It's the same thing I'm talking about. You see, it begins by the first water they meet is bitter water. And it's a journey of 3 days. They're so thirsty. Then it's bitter water. They start crying. But it picks up, Moses, pick that and they throw inside, the water becomes sweet. Then they're like, God, you mean? Okay. And you see, maybe there's something also I needed to talk about wilderness. You see, God met Moses in the wilderness.
Yeah.
He went to Egypt and told Pharaoh, allow my people to come in the wilderness to worship me. Actually, God is saying, the wilderness is my home. You meet him in the wilderness, not in palace, not in the luxuries of life. You meet him in the wilderness.
In the wilderness.
And so, when you're in the wilderness of your life, don't complain. You're in the home of God. Ask him, he shall provide. He is there with you. But many times we feel when we're in the wilderness, God is away from us.
Yeah. Wow. But also the healing, before I come to 27, the healing also was symbolic of, God tells them that if you will heed to all my commands, I will heal of you all the diseases. And the healing of God, it's complete. It's complete. I think it's Psalms 103, verse 1 to 3. It talks about how God heals. He not only heals your diseases, but also he heals your iniquities. And this is the greatest healing that God wants, to bring to his children, especially to these people who are stubborn, they are enslaved in their mind, they are quite a primitive, chaotic people. To bring them out, yani in Swahili, awanyooshe, awapige pasi, so that msasa kabisa, so they bright. So it's going to heal them. It's a promise that I'm going to heal you of all the deficiencies that you have suffered all these years, so that I make you a people to reckon with. So this is quite symbolic and emblematic. Of course, you see there the wells are 12. And the palms are 70. So without overdrawing too much from this, but of course the 12 tribes, 70 is another very important number.
But they had not been here before.
They hadn't been here before. So
Why
all I
12
can say is the providence of God who is with them.
For one, for every. I would say, well, I see time is up, but there is something symbolic about all this thing, but I feel it begins with the sweet waters. Despite the waters being sweet, they did not camp there.
All right.
That is not where God wanted them to be. It was a blip, a short thing to remind them that I can do this thing, but this is not where I want you to be. Many of us are still stuck on, Lord, if you do this to me, I will always praise you. And you forget that is not what really God intended. He has an end game that he really wanted to do. He may solve issues in this world, but ideally we should not be satisfied with this world. We have a home with 12 gates, 12 foundations with 12 these things. These things are there, and there will be elders who will be thus there. This 12, a well was very important for Israelites. A well was very important. That's why we even talk about Jacob's well, because it was a well was permanent, something inheritable. Now they were all of them fighting over bitter water. And God was telling them, come on guys, I can solve that, but ideally, I want to take you to a place where you will own up your entire thing. When you read the book of Numbers, it says they went there and camped there for a while, because finally they had found what they wanted all along.
Wow, thank you.
Can I say something? Or time is over.
Okay, just in a statement maybe?
Just to see from the Maran, the bitter water, to the 70 palms and 12 wells. And when we come to chapter 16, because that actually chapter ends in chapter 16, they move. They don't stay for a long time at this particular place, Elim. They move again, and they go to the desert of Sin, where again we are going to meet a major complaint again. So I want us to appreciate what God is doing. He's giving them an experience to know Him, and also shows them, I care for you. So He's building their faith, at the same time testing and proving them. Because, you know, when God comes to your life, he makes a judgment. Anything you do. But he doesn't judge you until he gives you a privilege of knowing who he is and what he can do for you. So, and as we continue, we'll be seeing that more often. There's a very ugly situation, then it's followed by a sweet experience, then another ugly experience.
Situation.
That's how God knows He's working with them in the wilderness.
Wow. Thank you very much. And of course, we appreciate our pastors on behalf of the viewers for sharing with us quite extensively. And thank you very much, our dear viewer, for being with us on this discussion. Of course, it's been a nice one, and I hope that you've really learned much from this discussion, from what our pastors have been saying here. Just experiences from this book, this chapter of today, the Exodus chapter 15. And I have been blessed. I hope that you have also been blessed. So thank you very much for being with us. Till next time, God bless you.